are these people?
Collin, you saw on Twitter about Sam Husseini talking about impeachment, right? You asked me like
because with AOC and like some other people who was being like Trump bombed illegally, and he was like, impeach the motherfucker. So
right, yeah, like do it, fucking
right,
do it.
So he does have reasons. He's not just like it's not just feels and vibes from Sam Husseini. So we're gonna actually listen to his reasoning because that seems like the reasonable thing to do. I don't know about what other people would do, but that's what we do here. Anyway, this is June 18th. He writes the efficacy of principal impeachment. A left-right alliance could begin to undo the oppressive establishment and stop the perpetual war machine. So this is, I don't know if you saw this video, right? Of after they bombed the IRIB studios. That's like the Iranian, like Press TV affiliated thing. But yeah, Yunus Shadlu. Hopefully I got that right. But Sam Husseini went to an event Tuesday night on Iran at the progressive venue Bus Boys and Poets. Collin knows where that's at.
Well, there's several locations in DC, but yes.
Yeah. A refrain of the evening was how people were surprised that they were agreeing with Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has been posting against war with Iran. That's really not.
Oh, by the way, I do want to say something about that, though.
Yes.
Like, because I think there were people who felt away about her stance on Iran, which I totally get, given it's Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she's right on this issue. Doesn't mean she's right on every issue.
She's or most issues.
Still for Israel through and through.
And it's probably a bit of a fucking play anyway, because
I think she doesn't want to.
Well,
it's not to say she doesn't want to go against Papa Trump, but like, she'll say just enough to make it. But I think also she kind of knows her base, who may not necessarily want this. So I think she's kind of appealing to her base more of anything else. But don't get it twisted. Like, just because she's against this war doesn't mean she's anti-war.
Right.
So
I did not see what she was.
But that's really not so surprising to me. Lots of major issues lend themselves to left-right alliances, from war to civil liberties to trade to Wall Street bailouts. See my piece from 2013, the perennial, unusual, yet somehow ubiquitous left-right alliance towards acknowledging an anti-establishment center. The insight is key to my votepack.org election strategy, which, if you've seen Sam Husseini, his thing was, if you don't like either the party, either go, what was the thing in Minnesota, Michigan? The undecided, not undecided, what was it? Uncommitted or something like that?
Uncommitted, yeah.
Right, that sort of thing, or like third party. So, but that kind of thing. That was his vote pack strategy. So not the worst, not the best, but another refrain of the evening was to back the war powers resolutions introduced by Republicans Rep. Thomas Massie and Tim Kaine. While such an approach might help galvanize people to push their alleged elected representatives, it has been criticized by the late Francis Boyle and by Bruce Fine as effectively prioritizing the War Powers Resolution of 1973 over the Constitution. Fane writes me today, Trump has usurped the War Powers Clause of Congress, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11, and should be immediately impeached and removed from office. So this is what Husseini is talking about, right? So Of course, impeachment has often been used for partisan purposes, says Husseini. He's not talking about that. Consider these examples. In 1991, Rep. Henry B. Gonzalez introduced an impeachment resolution charging that George H.W. Bush, in violation of his constitutional oath, was initiating war against Iraq while he has not received a declaration of war by Congress, and in contravention of the written word, the spirit, and the intent of the U.S. Constitution, has declared that he will go to war regardless of the views of Congress and the American people. George H.W. Bush would later write in his memoirs about his fear of impeachment that if the Gulf War drags out, not only will I take blame, but I will probably have impeachment proceedings filed against me. This may have led Bush to limit the scope of the war and not try to oust Saddam Hussein in 1991. Right? So this is example 1, Care Bear. Right? Let's go to example 2. In 2017, Ben Rhodes. You've heard of Ben Rhodes, right? Obama's Deputy National Security Advisor and Foreign Policy Speechwriter. Obama. That guy, right?
Yeah.
So he feared impeachment if he targeted the Syrian government. You might be wondering, did he? Did he actually? Well, here's what Rhodes has to say himself. I went through an evolution on Syria. I came into this job shaped by the post-Rwanda view of liberal interventionism, whatever the fuck that means. Suspicious of some amount of U.S. military intervention, but also seized with the necessity of acting in certain situations. I was a vocal advocate of going into Libya, and in the early days of the Syrian conflict, I was an advocate for military action. And I believe that I was wrong about that. Well, I guess admitting is the first step. Everything that I have learned about watching that conflict unfold suggests to me that the president's refusal to get into a military conflict with the Assad regime was actually one of his best decisions. And I don't expect that view to be the popular view for a long time, if ever. But he tested every possible option, and at no time was there a viable military option to make things better in Syria. End quote. The interviewer Crowley asks, does that imply that his mistake in the red line episode was drawing the line in the first place? Rhodes replies, well, drawing the line actually did provide the basis for a diplomatic effort to remove the chemical weapons program peacefully. I don't know how we could have started a military conflict with Assad that we didn't feel compelled to try to finish by taking out Assad. Even if you do that, there's no reason to believe that people would have simply reconciled with one another because the United States was a party to the conflict. And never mind the fact that we had no international support. The only country in the world that was prepared to join us was France, and we had no domestic legal basis. We actually had Congress warning us against taking action without congressional authorization, which we interrupted as the president could face impeachment.
Interpreted.
Right. Sorry. Interpreted. But Crowley says, really, was the prospect of impeachment actually a factor in your conversations? That was a factor. Go back and read the letters from Boehner, letters from the Republican members of Congress. They laid down markers that this would not be constitutional. If we got drawn into a conflict in Syria without congressional authorization, without international authorization, without international support, you can see very clearly how that could have completely derailed this entire presidency. So, yeah. Thoughts? There's Ben Rhodes down there.
I mean, again, it just proves the idea of if you're a duopoly, you're pro-war. So, yeah, glad you had the change of heart, but you should have thought of that regardless, honestly. Like, it shouldn't necessarily be the thing that, oh, we have to go to war with these people or this country because of, and you can fill in the blank to the reason, but that's generally like the stance of both sides. that they are willing to do. And again, just with the Democrats, even with Trump, they're not. Then it's not that they're mad that Trump is going to war. You know, we saw the leadership like with Jeffries and Schumer. Like they're just, if anything, they're upset that because their people are not necessarily the ones initiating. So, like again, Trump was sloppy with it. That's the thing. But both sides want to go to war. So again, that's money.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's money. That's resources to exploit. So, you know, so it's going to work in our best interest, our meaning the West.
Yeah.
To actually, you know, start these wars, especially if we're able to claim those resources that the countries have that we want.
Yep.
And as the 34th rule of acquisition states, peace is good for business.
That's the 35th rule.
Oh, you're right. What's the 34th?
War is good for business. It's easy to get them confused.
Well, same Husseini jumping back in says, it appears that fear of impeachment might actually curtail U.S. presidents from their most aggressive tendencies. Last year, as Biden bombed Yemen without authorization, many in Congress called it unconstitutional, but none moved to impeach. He talked about that here. So now it may make sense for some congressional representatives to introduce articles of impeachment against Trump. They should. Bare minimum. Bare minimum, they should. So, make clear that they are not doing so for political reasons. They should pledge to do the same for any president of either establishment party violating the war powers provision to the Constitution, which I doubt they're going to do, but sure. They could highlight that it is their duty to impeach genuinely unconstitutional acts. Congress people, particularly those who seem to take exception to the establishment at times, often act like influencers. Tweeting is not governing. They should use the legal powers they have. Indeed, they must uphold their pledge to protect the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Correct? They should ideally be one or more Democrats and one or more Republicans. This would highlight the first point, and it would be a step towards the needed realignment of politics in the U.S. envisioned by votepack.org, so that public and members of Congress are not effectively enslaved to various parties or factions. By pairing up, they get protection. This transpartisan nature says someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene teaming up with someone like Rashida Tlaib will be attacked, but it will be hard for the establishment to ignore. Leading warmonger Lindsey Graham commenting back in 2010, "You know what I worry about most? An unholy alliance between the right and left."
Which is, it's never going to happen.
No.
Never going to happen.
Not in that way, for sure. There is pressing need to make Graham worry. Articulating statements with legal force by a few members of Congress organizing themselves in such a transparent fashion could be a step in breaking the oppressive establishment duopoly, and especially the perpetual push towards war that it continuously manifests. So, just as a, couple of comments at the end from Husseini. So, as a political matter, removal from office could be problematic with Vance as vice president. This does not affect impeachment as an initial remedy. I mean, it might. It depends on, who's willing to. Both of them are willing to do the same thing, if not worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have also speculated at times that Obama didn't target the Syrian government more because they wanted Syria to be more of a failed state, let it twist in the wind so that whatever government came with Assad would be weak, and it's possible the same dynamic was at play in Iraq through the 1990s. So, yeah, it's every once in a while declare peace. We still have the, we're going to invade 7 countries, So, right. But any thoughts? Guess what? 128 Democrats crossed the aisle. Here's your bipartisan left-right alliance, Sam Husseini. What do? They come across the aisle to block AOC's back bid to impeach Trump over Iran strikes. Any fucking questions?
No.
Like,
it don't make no motherfucking sense.
Right. But you know what? It's funny because I live in DC. They're doing a march on Iran over the weekend. I actually showed the picture to Indy because I saw a flyer. They're not going to talk about this. You know, they're going to talk about how Trump is going to war, but they're not going to say anything as far as Democrats are actually backing the war if Iran given this. That's the thing that is going to be wild. And it's not wild, it's just expected. But it's like, they're not going to mention both sides are liable for war. Like, but it's easy to put it on Trump because, again, Trump is an idiot and Trump is more brazen. But war is business. Actually, not even. War is money. War is money for them. So they're going to do everything in their best interest for their donors. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that because you know, because I showed the picture to Annie. I don't think I sent it to you, but like it's the usual characters. Like Code Pink is sponsoring it. Answer Coalition is also sponsoring it. I forgot the other, but those were the main two that I remember. So it's like, of course, the usual cast of characters who will say the nice things, but they're not going to do anything really robust to actually create to create policy change. It's just another weekend where people are like, we hate Trump for doing this, and go home. That's it.
What? Huh?
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
What? Collin. Okay. What? Oh, I'm completely in agreement. I'm with you, dog. Fucking dumb. Oh, and there'll be another No King's Day coming up, which, you know, you can check out our previous, you know, thing on how that's also bullshit. So,
right. Yeah, we talked about that last week. So,
yep. Shout out Indy for that one. But anyway, talking about those things is why YouTube decided we shouldn't get any money. So if you would like to say, fuck you, YouTube, and send us money anyway, you can go to ko-fi.com/indienewsnetwork or scan that QR code on your screen. We appreciate every dollar you do. It goes to good things. But if you can't because you're one of the poors like ourselves, just do all the engagement stuff. Share the video. It's the only way it gets seen, you know? So leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Well, what do you think's on the horizon? Because we don't fucking know. Anyway, thanks for watching.